This is a brief tutorial on creating alignments in AutoCAD Civil 3D. I've drawn a hypothetical layout of some roads here for an example. The street to the south and the street to the north in this example would be existing concrete streets, and we're putting in two asphalt streets going through potentially our subdivision, Rose Lane and Sunshine Court that I've drawn for example here. I'll go ahead and zoom in here and let you have a look at how I've laid these out just to give us some geometry to work with. 60-foot right-of-ways for both Rose Lane and Sunshine Court. They're both 24-foot asphalt streets. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of that annotation now. Just had that there so you can know what type of an example we're working with. We're going to start by creating an alignment for Sunshine Court, which is this street that ends in a cul-de-sac. And I already have the geometry for the street in here, including this center line that is a line that I've drawn. So in creating alignments, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. If you go to your Create and Design tab and open the alignment drop down, if you were to create an alignment from scratch, draw it yourself freehand as an alignment, you would use the alignment creation tools. But in this example, since I already have a line for the geometry of the street center line in here, I'm going to use the Create Alignment from Objects button. And I'm going to go ahead and select that, and it's going to prompt me to choose either the combination of lines and arcs or polylines that I want to use as my alignment. So I'm going to choose this line, which is the center line for Sunshine Court, and go ahead and hit enter. And it's going to ask me to accept the alignment direction. This seems reasonable to me. In my head, I see the street starting from Rose Lane and being constructed to the east. So starting from a station of 0 and going up in number. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to accept this alignment, and we get this dialog box. First thing I'm going to do is name my alignment, and I'm going to name it Sunshine Court. All caps is just my personal preference, and I'm going to leave this starting station as 0 for now. We'll come back to that. Site, I'm going to leave that as none for now. Alignment style, standard, that's the only one in the drawing at this point. The type of alignment is centerline. There are a few different options. Offset might be something you would use for a ditch centerline, 25 feet to the right or left of your street, or it might be something you would use for a median, for instance, if you were running a corridor down a street. But we're not going to talk about any of those options for now. We're just going to go with centerline because that's what this is. The alignment layer, I am going to go ahead and set to pave centerline. That's what the line that's currently here is already on. So by setting my alignment layer to pave centerline, it will keep the same line type and color even though it's changing from a line to an alignment. Alignment label set is standard. That's again the only one in the drawing at this moment. We don't have any curves in here, but if we did, if I was creating an alignment from objects, then that means I would have already drawn arcs for where I wanted curves, so I wouldn't typically myself, I don't want CAD doing that for me. So I'm going to uncheck that. I'm okay with the erase existing entities here. That means that when I create this alignment from the line will be gone. All that will be left there is an alignment. The other thing I'll touch on briefly is this Design Criteria tab. It's pretty self-explanatory as to what this does. You can set different parameters, for instance, speed limit, and depending on the design criteria you use, it will in theory limit your road to certain slopes and radii that are acceptable and safe to drive based on whatever criteria you're using. Quite frankly, I have never used this in CAD. That's something that I would typically do myself with a manual online. I'm sure there's a great way to let CAD do it for you, but that's not this video. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and voila, I have an alignment. And if we come in here and do a crossing window and select, we see that all that is left is the alignment. I'm going to go ahead and delete the labels here at either end. I don't really, they have value, but not to me at this point. I just want station labels. Now I'm left with what we'll find to be two sets of station labels, my major station labels and my minor station labels. They don't look quite the way I want, though. For one thing, they're out to 2 decimal places, which is not, I don't need accuracy to the 100th here because I'm only showing even station numbers with these labels. So that is something we can change. Also, it would be nice to have tick marks under these. That's something that you'll typically see. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. To edit my major station label style, if I go to Tool Space and go to the Settings tab and expand Alignment, I get Label Styles, Station, and I have Major Station and Minor Station. In each case, it's the standard style, and there's that little gold shaded area that indicates that that is the style in use, or is a style that is in use. So I'm going to right-click and edit my standard major station label style, and it gives me this pop-up here. I've dragged it off to the side so that as we make changes and apply them, you can see what happens here. So if we start with the Information tab, we have the name of the style and when it was created and by whom. The General tab, we've got some interesting things here. Right now the layer is set to 0. If I change this layer to be, for instance, my right-of-way layer, and I go ahead and apply those changes, these labels are going to become green, and they're going to stay green regardless of what layer I have them on. Whether I have them on 0, if I put them on my text layer, which is yellow, they're going to stay green. However, if I edit my standard style and I set the layer back to 0, this is only true of 0. If the layer is set to 0, and I have overridden these to be any other layer, they will take on the color of that layer. If I put them on a red layer, they'll turn red. If I put them on my text layer, they'll turn yellow, which is the color of my text layer. So that's a really good reason to have the layer here either already set to whatever your text layer is, or just set to 0 so that you can override the objects in model space however you would like. Text style standard, visibility is true. If for some reason you wanted the labels to be here but not show up, you didn't actually want to delete them, but you wanted for now for them to be invisible, you could set the visibility to false, and they would still be there, but you wouldn't be able to select them in model space or see them. Readability bias, we will talk about that later, and for now that's all just pretty standard. We're going to go over to the Layout tab, and here we have the components of our station label. Right now there's only one component, which is the station, and we're going to go down to the text, heading, and to contents, and if we select contents, we get this little 3 ellipses here. We'll click on those, and we get the property that is making up the station. If we come over here to our precision in the station value, we can set that to be 1, and if we hit this arrow to apply the changes, it now changes this property to read to the nearest even number. If I hit OK and apply those changes, we'll see that already my major stations have gone to the nearest whole number rather than out to 2 decimal places. Text height can also be changed in here. 0.1 is pretty typical to what I use at my company, so that is a good value for now. We're going to leave that there. If for some reason you wanted a border, or if you wanted a mask behind your station values, if it's a really busy sheet, or perhaps you have a paving hatch on your road but you want your station values to be masked, then this is where you would do that. You could set the background mask using this option here. You could set it just from false to true. And same thing with the border. If you set the border visibility from false to true, you'd get a rectangular box around your station values. Now, we've fixed our significant figures. The other thing that we would like to have is a tick mark underneath our station. And to do that, we are going to go over here to this little green plus and click the drop down, and we're going to add another component. We have station, and now we're going to add a line component, and we'll call it tick mark. Had my caps lock on there. We'll call it tick mark, and now we can see there's two components there. We just edited station. Now we're going to edit tick mark that we just created. The anchor point is the feature, meaning the alignment. That's a good thing. The start point is this station, and we're not using this component. So if we go ahead and zoom in our previewer over here, we can see that it's already created these lines that are starting underneath the station value, but they're just running off at tangent to the alignment, and they're not showing up at all the way we would like. So the first thing we're going to do is change the rotation to 90 degrees. That means that now wherever they are anchored to the alignment, they're going to be perpendicular to the alignment at that anchor point. They're much longer than we want for a tick mark though, so I'm going to set the length to be 0.1, the same as my text height. I would either do the same as my text height or maybe a couple of hundredths smaller. If I do that, I've got a nice length for my tick mark here. I can see I've got a nice length, but it's not centered on the alignment the way I would like. To change that, I'm going to go to my Y offset, and I'm going to set it to be a negative offset of half of my length. So my length was 0.1, so it'll be negative 0.05. And now we see that this line of 0.1 length has been offset down so that it's now centered on the alignment, and it is anchored underneath the stations. So if I hit apply here, I see that a nice little tick mark shows up underneath my major stations, and that's exactly what I was going for. Drag state is a tab where you can edit how the alignment, the station labels are displayed should you want to drag a station label off with a leader for some reason. That's not something that I ever do with station labels, so I'm not going to concern myself with this tab here. And summary is exactly that, a summary of all of the different things that we were able to edit in the first 4 tabs. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK now because I made all the changes that I want. And now the next thing for me to do is edit my minor station labels. I've got the majors looking the way I want. So now for the minor station labels, that's going to be, again, going to go into my tool space, find the label style, and edit it. It's easy to find in this instance because there's only one to choose from, so that makes my job easy. And I'm going to go to the Layout tab. Now, the first thing I'm going to do here, in this case, is create my line component like we just did. I'm going to call it tick mark again. I'm going to set my length to 0.1, my angle to 90 degrees, and my Y offset to negative 0.05. Go ahead and apply that, so now I have tick marks for these as well. I'm going to go back and check my layer. It is 0, so that's good. Now, I have something that I like to do with my station labels is show tick marks every 50 feet, but only show the actual stations at every 100. So if I want to do that, I have 2 components here, my tick mark and my station. I can go to my station component and just set the visibility to false. And now if I hit apply, only the tick marks are showing up. The actual station text component is not. That's how I like to have it. I feel like that's sufficient detail for an alignment, is to have stationing information every 100 feet and have tick marks every 50 feet. I'm going to go ahead and set these to my text layer so that they show up yellow like I like. And that's looking pretty good there. Now typically, the way I've seen alignments done, it's not a rule by any means, and there are different circumstances and different people will do it different ways. But I like to have my alignments start from 1 plus 0, 0 as the first station rather than 0. If we're going to change that, this is the property that I told you about earlier that we were going to come back to when I was creating an alignment from object. We had this property right here, the starting station, that I told you we were going to leave blank. If I had set that starting station to be 1 plus 0, 0 when I first created the alignment, this starting station would have defaulted to 1 plus 0, 0. But I didn't do that because I wanted to show you how to change it if you've already created it and you want to modify the starting station. To do that, we're going to select our alignment. We're going to go to the alignment properties drop down and choose alignment properties. And it takes us to the station control tab. And we have here our reference point, which is in this case our beginning point of our alignment. And it gives us the X and Y coordinate information of that point, and also the station, which is 0 plus 0, 0. If I change that to 1 plus 0, 0, and I try to hit apply, it's going to give me a warning message telling me that I'm changing essentially the whole structure of my alignment. I'm changing the reference point for the whole alignment, so now everything about the alignment, any labels that are referencing station, all of that is going to be changed because I'm changing the start point. Not the location of the start point, but I've changed the station. I'm going to dismiss that warning because I understand that it's happening. That's what I'm trying to do in this case. And I'm going to hit apply again. And there we go. We see that the change takes effect. And my starting station is now 1 plus 0, 0, running up to a last station of 7 plus 50, which indicates that the length of the street is 650 feet from Rose Lane to the center of the cul-de-sac. Now, the only thing that I have left that I would like to do to this alignment is get rid of these weird magenta markers at either end of the alignment. These will show up a lot of times at geometry points and at the beginning and end point of an alignment, and they have a use at times in this sort of a situation. I'm not really planning on using them. I will have some maybe that are attached to labels that I place, but I don't need them showing up just to identify geometry points. And magenta with my plot styles is going to print really dark and ugly anyway, so I'm going to get rid of those. To do that, I'm going to come back to tool space again, and when I expand out alignment, I have alignment styles, and there's only one in this drawing, which is standard, and that's the one in use for our alignment. I'm going to edit that style, and I have, again, 5 different tabs here. Information is just the name and some of that sort of thing. Design, display is interesting as well, has some use here, but and also the summary tab, but we came for markers, and that's what we're going to do. There are 2 criteria that are set to have a marker style. Most are set to none, but the station reference point and the through points are both set to have a marker style. I'm going to go ahead and set both of those to none as well, and then that means that there should be nowhere that CAD is being told to put markers on my alignment. If I hit OK, sure enough, the markers at either end of the alignment go away. One last thing that I would get rid of is this arrow indicating the direction of my alignment. I already have stationing information on here, which makes it very clear which direction my alignment is going. If I were running an alignment, say, for a sanitary sewer line, this could be useful information to confirm that, which direction the sewage is flowing. But for a street, I have stationing information already. I don't need that. So again, I'm going to edit my alignment style. And if we go to that display tab that we had just taken a peek at, arrow is one of the component types, and I can set the visibility, turn off the proverbial light bulb, and set the visibility for the arrow to 0, or to not be visible. If I hit apply, it disappears. Very nice. One other thing that I will do is go ahead and set the warning symbol visibility off, because that is most of use, I believe, if you're using design criteria in your alignments to warn you of something that's not per code. For me, it's only going to show up when I, for instance, move a label or something like that. It just doesn't have a use for me, so my preference is to turn it off. I'm going to hit OK, and what we're left with is a really nice looking alignment for Sunshine Court. If we select it, it's on the paved centerline layer, which is why it maintained that red color and the center line type that I had for it when it was a line. We have the name here, it's set to the standard style, and we have nice station labels that show up at every 100 with tick marks every 50. Really nice looking alignment, all things considered. I'm going to run through the same process very quickly for Rose Lane, just so that you can see it again. but that is how you create an alignment in Civil 3D from an object. Here is where I can set the starting station to 1 + 0, 0, so I don't have to go in and change it later on. And all of my stations are showing up exactly the way I would like, because I've already edited the styles when I was doing Sunshine Court. So all that's left for me to do is grab the major and the minor stations, station labels. I guess I have to do it individually, and change the style, not the style, the layer of the objects to text. The last thing that we're going to do is cover reversing the direction of alignment, because when I was creating the alignment for Rose Lane, I didn't really pay attention when it asked me to confirm the direction, and it's stationed from 1 + 0, 0 to the north going south, and in my head I'm seeing it as being constructed from the south up to the north. So that means we would start with 1 + 0, 0 down here. To reverse the station of the whole alignment, we will select the alignment, and in this modify panel we're going to expand the drop down, and there we go, we have a button to reverse the direction of the alignment. It's going to give us a warning that any station equations, which is the design that Civil 3D can do for you, any of that type of thing is going to be reversed, or broken, or affected potentially by us reversing the alignment. We don't care because we haven't done any of that. We reverse it, our stations dynamically update, and there we go.